Us right now from Dallas at his house is Texas Rangers Hall of Famer, and he was the captain of the teams that went to the World Series, and he's a special assistant to the general manager right now. It's Michael Young. Mike, thanks so much for joining us, man.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, we'll get into this a little bit later, but Michael is from the Los Angeles area. He's wearing a USC football shirt right now.
He's got his colors on.
This is Roxo Media House, which is home to Frogs Today. I went to TCU. We got a TCU helmet on the table now. So anyway, we'll get into that in a little bit. But hey, right now we're both sitting pretty. All right, all we got to do is take care of business this weekend, and we will. But
TCU is totally looking pretty right now. I think they got to be even if they lose, right?
You would think. I mean, I think the 3-12-0 teams belong. You know, they went through their season perfect. You know, didn't lose obviously, and now they're having to play a bonus game, and the bonus game shouldn't hurt you while serving somebody else who didn't even qualify for those games. That's my opinion. That's been my opinion for a long time.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I just think it'd be a travesty. But those brands, those Ohio States and Alabamas out there are probably looking pretty good to that committee. So we'll see.
They always do.
We'll see.
I'll tell you what.
Right.
All right. The other business at hand. Why haven't the Rangers signed anybody, Michael? What's going on here?
Uh-oh. I don't know. I think it does to all this stuff. When you get into free agency, it gets a little dicey as far as kind of making sure that you're looking at the market properly, trying to see where the best fits are. Obviously for us, the first order of business was hiring your manager and completing our coaching staff and filling that out, which we've done. And now we turn our attention to the market. And, you know, it's one thing to go out there and target free agents, which obviously a lot of teams are doing right now, but it's another to also kind of go out there and try and survey the trade market too. So I know all the folks who are working really hard in our front office have their hand in pretty much all that stuff right now, and are just kind of waiting to see proper fits, and they'll be aggressive when they see it.
How involved are you? Are you at the ballpark a couple days a week? Does it depend on the timing? You know, if something is close, they call you in. What is your schedule?
For me right now, I mean, going to the ballpark isn't as important as just making sure that I'm in constant communication with CY and with the rest of the guys. But they're the ones who are in there, and it's always been this case. You know, I'm as a special assistant, it is part-time. I've seen the way the guys go full-time, and it's insane. I got a ton of respect for what they do, for how hard they work, for the way they communicate as a team. And again, I'm really happy to be a small part of it, but I give all those guys the credit that they deserve. It's a really hardworking group.
And you don't want to be a full-time guy?
No. The work sounds great. The work sounds great. And I've said this forever. It's just kind of like rinse and repeat with me. You can just probably find this and hit record. I love the concept of the work, whether it's in a front office or even in a dugout. But the time is something that I haven't just been willing to do. You know, people have asked me, when your kids get older, are you going to want to jump in a little bit more? And it's been exactly the opposite of what I've said. You know, I kind of said, maybe, at that point when my kids get a little older, I'll maybe be willing to jump in, but it hasn't been that way at all. I mean, I think as my kids get even older and they're in college, I'm going to want to go visit them. I'm going to want to go travel on my own. So I don't see myself ever hopping in full time. I just don't see it.
Well, the one thing I've learned about kids is as they get older, they get busier.
Yeah.
And I guess we weren't really prepared for it. And me and my wife, because my son is playing baseball for I don't want to say a select team, but a tournament team, and he plays basketball.
Those tournaments aren't very long, are they?
Jesus. Our last tournament this year, Michael, was a one-day tournament, and the first game was at 9:30, and they ended up playing 5 games and went all the way to the championship game. We didn't leave until, and this is on a Sunday, until after 11. I mean, it was ridiculous. But the tournament, they're just a grind, and the downtime. Good God, it's terrible.
Crazy. I mean, we're probably getting off topic a little here right now, but I mean,
that's fine.
Major leaguers don't like playing doubleheaders.
Yeah.
Like, major leaguers don't like playing 2 games in one day. And you're asking young kids to crank out, if they get on championship Sundays and you go until you lose, you can crank out 4 or 5 games in one day.
Yeah.
And
No, it was
it's a mystery when kids burn out.
exactly.
Yeah, wasn't that way when I played? I mean, you just played your rec ball and you played
I
about.
walked to
30.
the field. I walked to the field, dragged my shit with me, and I played a game at noon on a Saturday. I went home. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. Couple
glory
practices
to
a
it,
week.
man.
And it's we're doing some tryouts right now, and man, the tryouts aren't stressful, but it's like, what do you do? And it's unnecessary stress. We were not braced for this at all, and we want our son, first of all, to have fun. We want him to
That's
be able
the
to,
main thing.
Yeah,
It's got to be fun.
We want him to develop. And so it's like a constant, like, are we doing the right thing for him? And I mean, you have 3 boys. I don't know if they all play baseball, but my God. And then like our daughter plays on a really good soccer team, and it's nuts.
You're an Uber driver.
I wish we could go back 30 years because it would be a lot better. Really?
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, they do. I will say the kids are better at this age than they were around when I grew up. My son's better than me at the same age, and I have 3 boys. My oldest is a junior in high school, and I mean, like coming back to the earlier points, when the kids get older, you get even busier. I mean, he's out of the young kid stuff. He drives himself everywhere, hangs out with his friends. They drive, they go out at night. Now it's real stuff, right? Junior, senior in high school stuff. Where are you going? Who are you with? What's there? I go home. He goes out, but I'm home. Man, out there weekend nights, so I want to go to bed early, but I can't go to bed until I know he's home. Because I don't know, we're in constant communication on what he's doing. But if, something happens, something goes haywire, I got to be in my car to go get him. So, right. I mean, it's nonstop. It doesn't end at tournament baseball. I'll be the first to tell you now.
Well, see, your kids are young.
Yeah.
Mine are the age of his boys, and I've got one 24. You're exactly right, Mike. I mean, they don't understand why is there a curfew. It's because I want to go to bed, but I'm not going to sleep until you're in the house.
Right.
So you're exactly right.
Well, and I tell you what, though, Michael, one thing you told me, I remember this, when my sons first started playing baseball or t-ball, is like, you said you don't talk to them in the car about the game, good or bad. You just drive home and let everything cool off, maybe a cooling off period, and you can talk about them. But I don't jump my son's shit. I just can't do that. But it's a great tip. It's a great tip.
It works. And they start getting older. My son, who my oldest is 17, he's on the swim team in high school. He doesn't play baseball. But my 13-year-old does. He's serious about it. We're at a point now where we can talk a little bit more about it. I usually try and, for the longest time, it was what you and I talked about. As long as they're in uniform, no talking about baseball after the game. Like, you got to let them, the ride home can suck for a lot of kids. And I wasn't going to do that to my kid.
Yeah.
So, it became, all right, when we started talking about baseball games afterwards, all right, what went well? What went well out there? Even if, in baseball, it's one of those games, man. Even if you have a good game, there's probably a couple, 2 or 3 things that you did shitty just because it's such a tough sport.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, even if you go 3 for 4, there a couple things went south, but so it's like, all right, what went well? And then we go over what he did well. All right, well, base running, defense, a couple at bats, great, whatever. And then I kind of just sit there, and he usually goes, man, that one at bat because he's switch hitter, that one at bat right-handed. I wish okay, boom, there's my green light. All right, well, what happened? Did you expand the zone? Like he usually kind of initiates it now, like things that he wants to talk about. So, he's at a point now where we can really talk about game and chop it up the way I like to, right? Which is, where we know that having fun and being a good teammate is important, but now we can get into the finer points of the game, which is something that I've been kind of dying to hop into for a long time. And he's starting to see all that stuff kind of pay off when he plays now.
And another thing, when did bats get to be $400 and $500?
Oh my God!
What's up with that? I mean, it's
a scam, dude. The whole thing, it's so bad. And then how about this? Like, they have kids convinced now. Like, when I was a kid, you bought a metal bat and you used it until that bat didn't fit you anymore, right? Then you handed it to your younger cousin or your little brother, and he used it.
Exactly.
You passed them down.
Yeah. They're just hand me down, right? Like clothes, right? You just hand them down to your closest relative. But nowadays they have these kids convinced that, like, these metal bats have like a shelf life, right? They only have like a certain amount of barrel shots, and then they're no good anymore. You got to throw them in the trash and buy a new one. It's a total jip. So anyway, yeah, I pass all the bats down to the kid, to the younger brother, to Antonio, my youngest son. But Emilio still says, he goes, I don't know, I'm not sure how many more barrels I got in this thing. I'm like, shut up and just hit. There's plenty of barrel shots in there. Just hit. And plus he's growing like crazy. So you're not going to be using that bat for much longer anyway. But
yeah,
I don't know, man. The whole thing is super, super sketchy.
Well, if you're hitting it that well with a bat that doesn't have many more barrels in it, wait till I get you the bat that has the barrels in it.
Exactly.
So you need to keep hitting with this one.
Yeah.
So
wait till you start swinging wood bats all the time, and then we'll see.
Yeah.
I assume based on this conversation that Ian Kinsler is not knocking down your door to be a spokesperson for War Stick.
Well, no, I mean, he's I think they're actually doing really, really well right now, man. I mean,
yeah,
and Kins works at it too. He works at it. I think the biggest thing that I'm excited about is they just came out with pickleball gear. So
nice.
and War Stick has all the cool designs and the colors and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna pull my old man hobby and get all over him for pickleball gear, because that's probably my next venture.
Your next thing. Yeah, my son actually has a War Stick bat, and yeah, it's good. And pickleball, that's where my wife's 40th birthday party was, at Chicken and Pickle in Grand Prairie. They're not a sponsor, but they need to be, and they have great chicken strips. But
my wife wants to do that.
Michael, they play a ton of pickleball and have for years in Surprise, and so it's finally catching on. It's finally the rage.
That's something I can do as a fat dude. I mean, that's something I could get me back. I'm starting to work out now and get back in shape, but pickleballs looks like something I can't run a baseline for tennis anymore. I'm gonna have to play some pickleball.
Wait.
So, not to go back to baseball, but another thing. Another thing I remember from the past is that you as a Major League Baseball player on a competitive team that was in contention, you were always very willing for the front office to trade away prospects. I wonder, Michael, has that changed with how you see the organization now and your role?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think as a player, you one thing that, especially when you get on into like the middle sweet spot of your career, you do have a level of awareness on how long it's going to last, right? You know that this is only going to happen. These windows only pop up, for so long. It doesn't matter who you are. You can be a monster market. The Chicago Cubs are grinding to kind of reopen their window again. It's not easy to have that thing pried open all the time. And when you're there, you recognize how special it is. So I remember, fielding answers from you guys about prospects. I'm like, ship them all out, man. I did not care. And again, that's the luxury you have of being a player, right? And as if you're a front office member, you kind of appreciate the fact that a player's got blinders on and he's like, all right, all I care about is what's on the field tonight. That's all I care about. Yeah. When you're in the front office, you don't really have that luxury, right? It's like one eye on the present, which means a lot, and then one eye on the future, which also means a lot. But I think it also depends on making sure you have a solid amount of judgment, of sound judgment, in order to kind of make that determination of when it's go time and when isn't. So I think, and everyone is case specific, right? It depends on who the prospects are, it depends on who the team is, depends on what the fit is. But once you establish if it's a really good fit for the team, yeah, I mean, I think every team, when they see their window starting to open, is willing to kind of do what's necessary to keep it open and to try and win now. But again, they're all case specific.
Yeah. So what is your evaluation of the farm system? I mean, this is from our vantage point, and we've had a lot of the guys on, a lot of the top prospects on this show. I mean, it's deep. I mean, I don't remember it being this deep, and I know 9 and 10 and 11 might have been the last time it was like this.
Super deep and talented, and I think if you're
hang on, Michael, you're breaking up a little bit.
Hang on, so if you're the Ranger fans, are a way to make the fans kind of like chill on what's happening at the big league level, if that makes sense, right? All right, we're losing at the big league level, but damn, our farm system is sweet. And after a while, the fans are kind of like, all right, great. I think the unique part about where we are now is that all of our prospects are right around the corner. They're not like down in rookie ball or low A ball. They're basic. They were like, a lot of them have been in Frisco and are headed to Round Rock or have already been in Round Rock. So when you get guys that are that close and they start having success in Double A, you can now start getting really excited about them. They're right there. You have success in Double A, you're ready for a big league opportunity. And we have guys who have had success there. So, then you talk about the guys that we have that we know are talented and now starting to kind of like scratch the surface on what they can do. And that's a really fun part of development. Again, you talked about the depth, but it's also high end talent too. I think that this is the year where we see not only like our last year you started to see it where our guys started having some success along with their ability. And I think in 2023 is where you're going to see kind of that perfect storm where you have all that depth, all that ability, and you're combined with production, and that's when farm systems really explode.
Yeah, it seems like it's a tough situation that Chris and the front office find themselves in because of what you just said. The prospects are right there, but you got to start winning. 6 straight losing seasons. So and we were talking about this in our first segment. There's a big juggling act here. Like how long do you want to lock up a pitcher? A free agent pitcher, because how you need these young guys to help balance the budget for one, but they've got a chance to I guess the dream is the late 90, early 2000 Oakland A's, where you can pull a Mulder, Hudson, and Zito out of your farm system. But it just so how much of that is in the thought process right now?
Yeah, I think right now, I think actually they're kind of independent, right? Like we want to make either way. We have got to make sure this next wave of pitchers, not even pitchers, but even the position players. Now we're super active in the trade market or the free agent market, or not. We've got to make sure this next wave of players comes up and contributes to the team. That's going to give us an opportunity to do everything, like you said. You want to make sure that for so many reasons, it's important to get young players to contribute. I think the fan base can identify with them right away. They become like fan favorites. They get fans excited about coming to the game. Of course, it balances out your budget and you get guys who are playing at the minimum and they are productive members of your team. That's massive for any team. So yeah, for all those reasons, it's really, really important. But I mean, we are making sure that those guys are going to get an opportunity when they're ready. They come and get an opportunity. But I think the beauty of like what CY has stressed to all these guys is this is you saw what we did last year with our middle infield. Every rumor out there has us involved in every big picture that's there. We want to make sure that our young players and pitchers know that if you play well and you work hard and you kind of check all the boxes that we ask you to check, you're going to get an opportunity here. But no red carpets rolled out. And that's the way it should be. It's competition. This is sports. This is nothing given, everything earned. And that's exactly the way it should be. And that way, when you do get that opportunity and you do succeed, you're already a little hardened up. You're already hardened up. You've already had to kind of earn your opportunity. And when you start doing that to players, that's when you find players who are ready to perform in postseason games. And so it's really, really just another step in development, really. Even though they're not in the minor leagues anymore, you still kind of develop a mentality that helps them succeed when all the pressure's on.
Sure. What's your take on Josh Young?
Josh can flat out hit. I think he's really smart. He's a smart kid. And two, he takes he has a ton of pride in what kind of hitter he wants to be. When we first got him, everything we've heard when we first got him was he was more of a well-rounded hitter, right? Uses the whole field. We've got to work on pull power. That was the biggest thing that we heard at the time. Well, now look what Josh does, right? You leave him something up in the zone and it gets smoked to left field in the air. So he's already kind of made these adjustments before he's even got to the major leagues, right? And then they always say, I find it to be true that with good polished hitters, power is the last thing to develop. They start getting that knack for catching a breaking ball out front and getting a little bit of backspin and hitting it instead of trying to mash a 480-foot homer, 340-foot homer, you're still jogging around the bases. And you just kind of learn that skill of getting the ball in the air and just let it backspin over the fence a little bit. And, I think Josh is going to get there. He's already shown he's crushed the minor leagues, right? He's absolutely nuked AAA pitching. Again, that speaks to our earlier point. Everything earned. So he's earned his opportunity now. So he's got a chance to be a really special hitter, and fit right in the middle of our lineup for years to come.
Well, I could keep you forever, but John's over here chomping at the bit, wanting to ask fun stuff. So
Well, this is the, I come at this when look, I grew up a Texas Ranger fan. So when you were playing in the World Series, my wife and I had season tickets sitting up in the stands. So we were right there with you, and I know it was exciting. It was exciting for us. So I know what fans like to hear and what they want to talk about. So you're from La Puente, California, right? You went to Bishop, what was it? Bishop Amat Memorial?
There you go.
All right, I got that right. Did you play any other sports in high school?
No, I played just baseball. So I played all sports growing up. The second I got to high school, it was baseball only.
Just baseball. And now we had Woody on here. You guys played against each other or were neighbors. Is that right?
Yeah, we grew up together. We all went to all the same. I went to public schools all the way through 8th grade. He and I went to the same schools in middle school and junior high school. We went to the same school, Las Palmas Junior High School. We sat next to each other in all of our classes, played basketball, recess, all the fun stuff. And then he went to the next Northview High School was the public school that we would have went to. My folks sent me to Bishop Amat Catholic School. It was kind of like the sports powerhouse in our area. And I went there. So it became just a massive, with all my buddies who went to Northview, I went to Bishop Amat, didn't really know anybody. I was always kind of following Northview baseball, but we never got a chance to play each other in my 4 years. And Woody and I always talk about it. We would have totally smashed them. It would have been nice to have gotten that chance. I mean, we were the number one team in the state my junior year, senior year, so it would have been on at that point.
Well, so I know that. So you ended up going to UC Santa Barbara. So, but coming out of high school, you were drafted out of high school. So, did you have any other opportunities? Any other schools that looked at you?
No, one offer. UCSB. It was SC was my dream school. That was the one I really wanted to go to. SC or UCLA, those were the two big schools around where I was from, and I was getting some calls from both in high school, and they started to kind of cool down a little bit, which is a little heartbreaking. But UCSB was consistent, so I had one offer and jumped all over it. If they had a football team, I'd be wearing their shirt right now. It's kind of hard to field a football team with a campus full of guys in flip flops and board shorts. So it's kind of tough.
But they have good basketball.
Yeah,
they do. They do. It's fun. It's a fun place to watch a basketball game for sure. Yeah, it's a really, really cool place. Their baseball program has really taken off.
Yeah. This is a fun one to ask too, because you got drafted twice. You got drafted in the 25th round by the Orioles out of high school, 1994. But then in 97, you were a 5th round pick. I love asking this question. On each one of them, how did you find out you'd been drafted? I mean, it wasn't like today where you go sit in New York. Where were you, and how'd you find out you'd gotten drafted?
The first time I was in high school, so I was just kind of hanging out at home. No big deal. And once the first day passed, remember in those days, it was unlimited rounds. So
right.
The first day passed, and at that point, I had a scholarship in hand, so I wasn't going to sign. The Orioles called me in day 2. Said thank you. And it was an honor, but I knew it wasn't going to happen. And then my junior year at UCSB, I knew I was going to sign. So I just taken a final. Went back to my apartment to take a nap. My roommate woke me up and the phone rang, and it was Billy Moore, the scout from the Blue Jays, and told me I got drafted. I was super excited. It really is a special moment when I can imagine every sport when you find out that step one of your lifelong goal is finally here. You can sign, and within days you're on a plane. It's the best feeling in the world.
Now the trade. So you're traded for Esteban Loaiza. That whole deal comes down. You come to the Rangers. How did you find out you'd been traded?
Yeah, so we knew we were right at the trade deadline. And as a minor league player, when you're a prospect and the trade deadline comes, you could happen, right? You never know. So
right.
we were in Greenville, South Carolina. I was in Double A at the time, and our manager, Rocket Wheeler, my cell phone rings, and he's like, "Hey, I need to see you in my hotel room." All right, so right away, I'm like, "This is no good. Either I got traded, or he's a creep. Either way, this is no good." So, sure enough, I go over there, and he tells me he's already, because I had him for 3 years as a manager at this point.
Yeah.
Right? And in the minor leagues, you go through a lot together. It's a ton of extra work. A ton of games played, a ton of development, a ton of bus trips. It's a lot of time to kind of bond. So he had some tears in his eyes, and he said, "You just got traded to Texas." And I was bummed at the start at that point, right? Because all I knew was the Blue Jays at that point, and I was looking. Again, I was in Double A. I was having some success, and it was close. Um, but I kind of got over it pretty quickly because it's during the season trade, so you don't have any time to think about it. Next thing you know, I'm in Tulsa next day. I'm in Tulsa, and I'm playing that night. And it's one of those cool things where baseball becomes your sanctuary. Like the second 7 o'clock rolls around, it's like I'll worry about my luggage and where I'm going to stay, and the fact that I don't have a car out here. I'll worry about all that stuff after the game. But so it worked out fine, and at the end of that year, I was in the big leagues with the Rangers, so it really worked out well for me.
Well, September 29th, 2000, that's your major league debut. This is, as a guy that played baseball in high school, was never good enough to go beyond that, this would be a dream of mine. How did you find out you were going to the big leagues?
Yeah, I was all packed up. I was getting ready to go to the Arizona Fall League. I had my truck packed up. I was actually at my sister's high school volleyball game, and I got a call from Reed Nichols, who was our farm director at the time. And he said, "Hey, you're going to go, you're going to show up to the Fall League late. You're going up to Seattle. We just got an injury. You're going to finish out last week, the big team." So I was like, sweet, didn't know how much I'd play. As it turns out, I watched a lot, didn't really play too much. Got a couple of bats, didn't get any hits. But it was, I think that 1 week, and it's, you got to take it for what it's worth. And at that point, that's all I had to go on. And the positives for me were by the time I rolled to what ended up being my rookie year the following spring, I kind of knew how a big league environment kind of functions, right? What time they get there, what they eat, what it looks like after a win, after a loss in the clubhouse, when you got to go get your early work in, all those kind of like little things that you usually have to kind of work out on the fly. I was ready for it by the time I got to camp the following year. So that ended up being a really, really big thing for me. Small in the grand scheme of things, but it was good at the time.
Was 2000 the first year of Safeco or the last season of the Kingdom?
No, it was, I think 99 was the first.
Okay.
Because,
I don't remember.
So is it Safeco? Yeah. Okay. So I can probably guess what this is, but you played on the World Series teams. But what is your greatest memory as a Ranger player? Is it Game 6? Is it, what was it going to, Game 6 against the Yankees? What's your greatest memory as a Ranger?
I think that one is easy to go to because I think for fans, it's definitely Game 6 against the Yankees. I think for me, it was probably the Game 6 the following year. Because the Game 6 against the Yankees, everything kind of happened really fast, right? It was right. We knew we had a good year, and all that fun momentum built up throughout the course of the year. We traded for Cliff Lee. Cliff was really great. We're steamrolling through the playoffs. We go into New York and we really, really take it to them. We win 2 out of 3 in New York, and we come back home and we know we're gonna win the thing at home, and that felt great, right? But we're still kind of on this roller coaster of emotion, like trying to make sure that we're taking in all of the fun and the atmosphere of the city, of the area, and trying to make sure that we stay focused on the field in order to kind of capitalize on opportunity. But the following year, 2011, I just think it was a bunch of guys really. It was a perfect storm of a season. It was a bunch of really, really good players who had career years. We ran through the whole league, and we got to play Detroit in the ALCS of that year. It was kind of a similar situation. They were a loaded team. Their pitching staff, Verlander, Scherzer, Miguel Cabrera's in peak form. They were really, really good. And sure enough, man, we end up coming back home. We're up 3-2, very similar to the year before, up 3-2 with a chance to clinch it at home. And we're in our advanced scouting meeting, and we're facing Scherzer that night. And we knew that if we lost that game, they would throw either Doug Fister or Ricky Porcello in Game 7, who they're both really good, with Verlander probably coming out of the pen. So we knew that let's handle business right here. So we're going through the scouting report. We're talking about Scherzer. Our hitting coaches are saying their piece, and we just stopped the meeting. And I remember we're facing Max Scherzer, and we're like, let's just beat the hell out of this team tonight. No messing around. I don't care what the scouting report says. We've been playing a lot of tight games. That whole series was a bunch of tight games, extra inning games, a hit here and there can decide it. And we said, we haven't smoked anybody in a while. Like, we are due for a beatdown. So tonight we'll get it. How about that? We'll get it tonight. And sure enough, I think we beat them by 10. And that was kind of what that team was capable of. It was just let's kind of like let's stay focused on one thing and let's just go get it. And that was a fun game. It really was. Kind of, to me, kind of like show what that team is all about.
Yeah, I think the thing about that game that's forgotten, and you just brought up, is Max Scherzer started that game. I mean, he wasn't Max Scherzer right now, but he was Max Scherzer.
Yeah, he was.
I think you guys scored 9, right? 9 in the third or 9 in the fourth.
Yeah, we did. We knocked them out in the third. They brought in Porcello. We knocked out Porcello. it was. And Scherzer wasn't the same guy he ended up being in, say, DC, but stuff-wise, he was.
Yeah.
Stuff-wise, still what he was at the time. It was just a matter of, like, maybe the command didn't end up being what it was down the road, but it was still a handful of an at-bat. It was very clear that what that guy had in the tank as far as what he could accomplish in his career. He was a handful of an at-bat.
Yeah, I remember that series. And like Miguel Cabrera, you could not get a ball past him.
No.
You could throw it a foot outside and he would hit it. It was it was just unbelievable. And then the next year he won the Triple Crown.
Yeah,
but
he was good.
I just remember, and I remember how much Wash revered him and talked about him, and God bless Wash.
Yeah. Hey, I got 2 more for you, so I'm gonna let you get out of here. This is the game I play with all the hitters. It's called the home run game. You're gonna talk about 3 home runs you've hit in your life. First one's real easy to always do, and sometimes your second one you have 1 or 2 of them. First one is your first home run you ever hit over a fence. How old were you, and do you remember where you were?
Yeah, I was 12. I was playing at Camino National. It was a first pitch fastball from Matt Miller. Matt Miller.
Right.
I hit when I was 12. I think I hit. I have an elephant memory when it comes to this stuff, dude. I'll be here all day long. It was. We played, I played for the Padres. We won the league that year. We won the city championship that year. And I hit I think 7 homers in like a 20-game schedule. And 3 of them were off Matt Miller. That was just the first one.
Oh, wow. Okay, the second one, most exciting. Now, it could have been whether it was college, minor leagues, major leagues, maybe a walk-off or tie up a game or anything like that. If you have a couple of them, that's okay. What's the most exciting home run you remember hitting?
Exciting. You would think there'd be big league games. I remember when I was in college, we were playing, it was my junior year, and we were playing at Wichita State. And the guy I was facing, I had a little bit of a back and forth with. I had faced him that summer in Alaska, and sure enough, I hit a homer my first at bat. And at this point, it was my junior year. The draft's right around the corner. I'm kind of starting to smell all this stuff. Like, it's starting to really become real in my head.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like college baseball back in the day, right? There's no TVs out there. So 1 home run means like stuff's about to happen. Sure enough, I get 2 balls whizzed above my head the next at bat. And then the third pitch, hit it off a scoreboard. And I think it was the 1 homer that I pimped in my entire life. I mean, I don't think I never ever did a homer. It's hit it, get my head down, get around the bases. But I had fun with that one, man. There was a lot of people in Wichita, Kansas, who didn't like me after that game. That was a fun game. Few balls was by the dome. Yeah, I had some fun hitting that one.
Okay, last one. The bomb. The one that the moment it hit your barrel, you knew it was gone. Who was it against, and how far do you think it went?
Whew. That's a good one. That's a really good one. One thing that sticks out, I think it was 2009, one that sticks out. We were facing Detroit. And I hit it, I think at our park. I felt super locked in at this point in the season. And I think it was off Ryan Perry, kid who came out from Detroit throwing really hard. So, he just doing all the hard work, right? You just got to put barrel on it. Yeah. I hit one like left center, and it kind of just really clipped it perfectly. I don't know how far it went, but it was one of those ones that right at contact, I'm going to get around the bases, but I kind of want to watch where this thing ends up a little bit, because
that's a good feeling. I hit 1 in my life, so it's real easy to remember the one I hit my junior year of high school. Right. Okay, last one. This is the fun one. It's what's something nobody knows about Michael Young. Let me give you some examples so you'll know where you're going. Jack Leiter can't stand peanut butter, so that's weird. Here's one that I always find funny. JD has been on here a couple of times. JD has airplane underwear. 2 pairs. He wears one on the plane ride wherever he goes, and he wears 1 pair on the plane ride home. He said it. So
he said it. It's on the record.
Airplane underwear. It's on the record. CY, he likes He's really into the true crime documentaries. He's really into that. What is something nobody knows about Michael Young?
Well, shit, I can't say that I don't like clowns. That became a thing.
Yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing.
I guess I will say on this one, like where it originated. So it's a super real thing. And I'm not afraid of them. There's a big difference between not standing something and being afraid of them. I am not afraid of them. But it is real. Like I freaking hate them. So when I was a kid at my grandfather's house, I got pictures in my phone that maybe I can show you guys at one point. Actually, it was my uncle's house. Sorry, I'll make this really quick. He had pictures of clowns all over the house, right? So I got a picture of this thing right here, this thing right here. I got family photos. I got all kinds of crap in my house. It's clowns everywhere. I remember walking it every freaking time, every holiday, every birthday, everything, every first communion, baptism, all this stuff. And I'm looking around, I'm like, what the hell kind of prison of terror am I in right now? It was, and they were like all kinds of clowns. It was ones, you can see like squirting a flower in the water, the pan face, all the stupid, and then some really creepy looking ones too. So that's kind of where it originated. And it really, really kind of came full force when I went to the circus, like in high school, and I hadn't really thought about it much at that point. And then sure enough, I had this, I'm having a good time. And then all of a sudden the clowns came out and I'm like, these effing things, dude, if I ever like get squared up by one of these things, it is on. I don't trust them. I think they're evil, dude. And the guy who like plays them, I don't just consider him to have like, that's not your normal gig. I think you're doing stuff on the side. I think you're robbing cars. I think you're selling meth. I think you're doing all kinds of weird stuff on the side to cover up for your clown gig. Yeah.
There's document. I mean, the most infamous clown of all time is John Wayne Gacy. I mean,
you might be onto something, Mike. I tell you what, you might be right.
I am. I read it just to kind of try and power through the fear or the stuffiness. Didn't help. Made it worse. The whole thing.
You got anything else for Mike?
No, just thank you for doing this, and hopefully TCU and USC take care of business and both advance. I'd like to.
I'm not going to sit between the two of you. You're going to be swinging at each other there.
Michigan is Derek Holland, and Georgia is the guy for the morning news. So
there can be some
there could be some battles here.
That'd be fine.
Yeah,
Mike, we can't thank you enough for coming on, man, and we really appreciate you taking the time.
You got it, guys. Happy to help. Happy holidays to you guys.